אני מקשר את עצמי בשיחה זו, בכל הצדיקים מתים שבין, בכל הצדיקים מתים שייך מיוף, מדשים שבעצם מפרט רבינו הקודש, צדיק סיידנו, אנחנו רבים כוח חוכמה, בני נחמן, וצמחו בן פגל, זכות מאוד אלינו והכל יסור, ואימו אמן.
Amen.
Alright, חבר'ה, Biezrat HaShem, this week, this year, we're going to start speaking, we're going to start learning the Sipurei Masiyot, which is, Nachman wrote 12 stories, well he wrote more than 12 stories, but the 12 Sipurei Masiyot, Sefer Sipurei Masiyot, is 12 unbelievably deep stories from Nachman, and we're going to start the 7th story, which is called Mizvuv v'Akabish, the fly and the spider. Nachman starts off with this story like this. Honor. Nachman answered, V'Omar, and he said, Asapeh lechem, I will say to you, I will tell you, Kol Nesiyah shali, my whole Nesiyah, my whole travel, Shahayli, that was to me. What's interesting is, if you look in Sefer Chaim Aran, which Rav Nosson writes about the life of Rav Nachman, he says Rav Nachman used to always travel. He used to travel and take mystery travels, something similar to what the Baal Shem Tov used to do. Nachman used to disappear and travel to distant places in Poland and Ukraine and Russia. And he used to come back, he used to give a little bit of taste of what he was doing. And one time, one of the places that he's left, he said to his people, before he left, he said if they knew, to his Talmidim, he said if they knew, if my Talmidim knew what I was doing when I was going on this trip, what I'm being attacked and being turning Am Yisrael to the Kaf Schus, the merits, they'd be kissing my feet. But Nachman's travels were unbelievable travels. If you forget about the travels to Eretz Yisrael, which a lot of the Chaim Aran talks about, how you see the Nisim I made it to Eretz Yisrael, which you see that most tzaddikim didn't make it to Eretz Yisrael in those times. You know, famous story of Baal Shem Tov didn't make it, and a lot. And Nachman made it, and he has a whole reason why, a whole svara, but that's not the point. But so Nachman used to say give a little bit of taste of the deepness of the things, the tikkunim that he used to do in his travels. That's the first sentence in this story. Before you even start the story, I'm going to tell you about the travels. Now, what's interesting is that we just said for Chaim Aran that the Rebbe used to travel a lot. In the first story that Rav Nachman talks about, which is called The Lost Princess, before, we're not going to read the story because we're going to start the 7th, like we said, but the first, it says over there, Ona v'Omar, it's the same thing the Rebbe started to answer. Omar, he said, Baderech on the way, Siparti Ma'isa, I said his story, I told the story. Baderech, what does it mean Baderech? The same thing. Baderech is when the Rebbe used to travel, with, sometimes it was a few Talmidim, or sometimes he went alone. And there's a story how Rav Nosson chased him down, the Rebbe, because he wanted to travel with him, he couldn't be apart with him, and that time he begged the Rebbe to tell him something, and the Rebbe started telling him a certain Torah, but the Rebbe also used to tell them stories. Now, what's interesting is that if you really look, we spoke about last week, if you remember, we spoke about last week that, what does it mean Baderech? We said Baderech could mean also the physical travels we just spoke about. Now, in the 7th story, in this story, you see the travels of Nachman, like we just expounded on. But you could also say Baderech is really not the travels, the physical travel. Now, the Rebbe is telling you that he's being merames to us, a tremendous deep thing, that these stories that I'm telling you are life stories. Baderech, what's Baderech? Baderech is your travels. When a neshama, what is a neshama? What's a yid? Yid is the neshama. Yid is not, this is the kli, it's the vehicle. Where are neshama? Where does the neshama come from? The guf is off of the Efer. The neshama gives a guf to clothe the neshama. What's a neshama? Neshama is somewhere that's by the kisya covered. It comes down to this world. It doesn't want to, but it comes down because it has to be talking something. Each person has his kaf and tachlis, which is why people are always searching what they need to do, because the neshama is trying to get them to wake up to search for it. It's not easy, but that's part of the search in Judaism, to beg Hashem to show him, to reveal your neshama, what your neshama needs, which is really you, because you're your neshama. But derech really is the travels, life's travels. The Rebbe is saying, Baderech Siparti, he's being merames. What does it mean Baderech? On the way, the Rebbe is saying, why am I telling these stories? I'm telling you these stories because these stories are meant for your life's travels, where you're going to be going up and down like a roller coaster in life. There's a story with the Chavetz Chaim we said last week. The Chavetz Chaim said, there's a story, that said over about the Chavetz Chaim, that a rich man came to see the Chavetz Chaim, and he walked in the Chavetz Chaim's house, the Gadol Dor, Chavetz Chaim, Gadol Dor, walks in and he sees the Chavetz Chaim living with one chair or table, who knows, looked like a tavern from 500 years ago, forget about 100 years ago. Rich man turns to the Chavetz Chaim, he says, it's not so proper, the Gadol Dor, and I'm sure that people have offered the Gadol Dor whatever he wants, Chavetz Chaim, everybody wants to get close, and money. So the Chavetz Chaim answers, let me ask you a question. He turns to the rich man, he says, tell me something, where are all your belongings, all your rich belongings, all your possessions? So the rich man says, listen, I'm traveling, I'm just passing by the town. You live here? The Chavetz Chaim says, I'm just passing through. This world, like it says in Biezrat HaShem, this world is just into Elam Haba. This world is the whole way into Elam Haba. We have no idea what Elam Haba is, but we understand that we're working for a reason. This world is just the whole way. Always, he passes the whole way to get into the room. Chofetz Chaim said the same thing. That's what the Rebbe means by derech. It doesn't mean the Rebbe also means by derech that the physical travels. We spoke about those tremendous yisodis and the kissing my feet because he was doing tremendous tikkunim. What he really means here is that the travels of a Jew, the travels of the neshama has to come down to certain places. Why you're from Los Angeles and you're from Miami and you're from here and you're from New York and you're from Israel and you're from Iraq and every Jew comes from his place. It's because his neshama has to go through his travels to his tikkun to his place. That is what the Rebbe means by derech. Because the neshama has to come down from a place that's all ruchni into a gashmi world. For the neshama, it's the biggest travels, but at the same time, it's only a prozor. So what is it? It's a derech. It's just a passageway. It's travels. Like the Chofetz Chaim said, I'm not living here. I'm passing through. So what do I need? I need more than a table. Just like you're passing through. You're staying by somebody. You bring a little suitcase. You don't bring your kitchen. Same thing. I'm just bringing along a little suitcase just for the ride. What's interesting is what Nachman says in Torah Vov, in the Torah Vov, the Rebbe says the unbelievable thing that derech is, if you do derech twice, derech times 2, he gives a whole cheshbon. It's not exactly derech times 2, but it's a long Torah. But if you look in Torah Vov, it comes out that derech times 2 equals baki. We said that why? Derech equals baki times 2, because the person has to be baki ratzi baki b'shad. The person has to know that when he's up in the good parts, when he's all happy, everything is good, how he has to realize he needs to always go further up. There's never an end, ain't sof. And when he's in the downs, that he never should be miyayish. We'll speak about that a little bit later, but that is what bederech means. Bederech is a rayil that the shnei bekiyas, which is what a person has to be bucking how to live his life, that when he falls or he's in the high spots in life, that is derech. And what? That's when you need the Rebbe's maisis. You need the Rebbe's maisis. The Rebbe gives you the tactics of how to beat the zohar that comes on the derech and tries to cool you down and starts playing with your mind. That's what the Rebbe means. Asaflachem derech, and that's also when we just in Torah Aleph. And but the Torah that we're busy with, we're going to be busy with this Torah Zayin. The Rebbe says Asaflachem kol nesiyah shel shahayel. Now, be'etzem. When a person's on the way in life and the hardships come, what's coming? What's bothering him? The Yitzhara. What's this Yitzhara? The first shir we ever spoke about, we spoke about it for a long time, spoke about Amalek and Amunah. We said, it says by Amalek, Asher korcha baderech. They come to you baderech. What did the Rebbe say? What's baderech? Life's travels. What's Amalek? Amalek's not a physical battle. Amalek is a spiritual battle. Amalek, that's why it says, why does it every year have a chiv to be a machshim? We always say to right? Because Amalek is the ruchni. What's Amalek equal to 240? What's 240? Sophic. What happened? Yidden left Mitzrayim. They said, Yesh Hashem ayin b'kirba, is Hashem with us? That second they said that, the Erev Amalek came. The second you start having sekes, that's Amalek. That's 240. Amalek is sekes, bulbulim and amunah. Asher korch bar derech. When you're going through life's travels and you want to do the right thing, be careful. Amalek is on your tail. Zonav baderech, right? It says Asher korch bar, right? It says bazonav. They're always on your tail. You have to be careful. Also, by the way, I realize what's Amalek 240 is Mar. Mar is also 240. Amalek comes and they bring babulim, because the whole thing of babulim is what? To bring bitterness. What's bitterness? Depression. We said for Rebbe babulim shishcha that the Yitzhar Amalek doesn't want the averah. There is nothing. He wants the bitterness that comes, he falls into depression. Rebbe babulim said, you know what the Gehenim is on? Not the averah. And that he didn't do tshuva because he was depressed. The Rebbe said also, the Rebbe always talks about it, Nachman always talks about it, you have to be besimcha. But that's really be'etzim what derech is, the shnei beki is to fight Amalek that comes by derech to put svekis chassidus in you and they cause bitterness. That's the whole part of what we're saying right now. But what the inyan of derech, what the Rebbe is saying, why we need to come to spur maisis from the Rebbe, and that's what the Rebbe said, dafka, but derech, I'm going to tell you spur maisis, in your life's travels. Now, Reb Nosson says, by the way, Reb Nosson Kutei Alochis, famous Reb Nosson brings that it's not just that there is an Amalek, it's muchach. Every person will fall. How do we know that? He brings a raya. It says a pasuk. Pasuk is brought down in Mishlei Perich Avdal. Pasuk is in the pasuk says, I'll read the exact pasuk. Ki sheva yipol b'tzadik v'kom. Tzadik falls down 7 times and gets up. If you look at the oisius of sheva yipol tzadik v'kom, the last oisius of each word is Amalek. The tzadik also has to go through Amalek. No such a thing. That's why it's important that we have to start these stories, because each one of us want to be a tzaddik. Everybody wants to be a tzaddik. There's no question. There's no such a thing. You ask a person, want to be a Nachman breslev? Yeah, of course. Oh, Nachman breslev. The answer is you have to go through a Amalek. Amalek is Sheva, is exactly the last oasis of each of those words. Oh, Sheva Yipol Tzaddik V'Kol. That's what it means. A person has to, a tzaddik falls down. He falls down also onto the Amalek, but he's machzik ma'amad. He holds strong, and he beats it. Falling down is not the problem. You have to get up. What Rebbe always says. You read this tachas aliyah. Person goes down just to get up. Right? So, be'etzem, we see the whole thing of B'derech is be'etzem in and of chayim, of life, life's travels, and it's in and of Amalek coming to attack you. It's in and of knowing that you're going to fall, but being okay with it, because that's what every tzaddik happens. Shevi falls down 7 times and gets up. But Rav Nosson says something amazing. Rav Nosson says, remember we spoke about last week, asked the question, what do you mean? Tzaddik falls only 7 times. Each one of us fall 8 million times a day. Rav Nosson says, no. Rav Nosson says, it doesn't mean 7 times. It means 7 big times, but each 7 times is in self of fallings. It's 7, it's like you have the broad 7 categories, and each 7 of those categories, there's 1 billion fallings in each one. It's ain't self fallings. Until finally, Biezrat HaShem, the Biezrat pulls you in to the Ari Hakadosh, which we'll get into what that means in a little further on. But this is what we're trying to say, that the tzaddik also has to fall. The tzaddik has to fall. This is what Amalek is. Amalek comes and beats everybody, tries to beat everybody, but he can't beat because of machzik ma'amad. The Eibishter pulls us out. Because the tzaddik will always get up. Now, so and that's what we said. That's the 2 things. The key is that when you fall, you have to know that when you fall, you always can find yourself, which we'll get into a little bit further. This is just the Akadom, a little bit of, we'll get into the story. And then the second thing is that when you're up there, to know that you're nowhere. Because God is unlimited and sof. Always can go higher. The question is though, Be'etzem, what are these stories they're doing for us? Why did Rebbe start saying stories about princesses and kings getting married, their son? I mean, just say what we're saying now, simply. Why do you have to say it in this way of stories? So in Kutim Aran, the Rebbe brings in Torah Samach, in Chelik Aleph Torah Samach, the Rebbe says like this. I'll read you his Lashon. He's talking about how a Yid falls into a kind of sleeping. Sleeping means in a spiritual slumber. He has to wake up from his sleep. He can't wake up unless he himself wakes himself up. The Rebbe says, so what does the Rebbe say? The Rebbe says that he needs to wake himself down here and then they help him up. What does it say? It says, the way you want to go, they'll help you from up there. You have to, the way you want to go. But if you're sleeping, how do you have to wake yourself up? How? So the Rebbe continues, and when this person, when you want to go and help another Yid that is in a spiritual slumber and he's depressed and he's fallen, what are you supposed to do? You have to what? You have to address the deepness of the chizuk in Sipur Maisis, in stories. Ki yesh ein panim l'Torah, v'hem b'chinas ein shonim, ki kol achem shonim v'chaver, v'tzich la'abus v'ram davka machz gimel tam. So the Rebbe speaks about it in a very much length of different reasons why you have to, but we see that the Rebbe says in order to wake somebody up from a spiritual slumber, it's through stories. I'm just telling you what the Rebbe says. Now, I'm just thinking, what's the pshat? So the Rebbe has a whole pshat. It's very deep about, if you can look at it about blind people and everything. It's not something else. If you could say like this, Be'etzem, really, in the general world, it's always, it's life's travels. People write books about their life and what they've gone through, and it becomes into a book. What's a book? A story. A book is a story. Essentially, derech that we spoke about as life's travels is a story. Each person has his own story. So each person who's living his life, his neshama comes down from up top, down here, and she has to go, this neshama, Akadosha, has to go through her own story, which is the ups and downs, and how she gets out, and how she works on herself, and how she pulls herself together, and how she does this. That's a story. That's why everybody says they get up and they give a shir and they start telling the people how they can give chizuk. People get woken up. This person give a Baal Shuvah how through his story. People like to hear stories. Why is that? Because then it wakes you up in your own story. That's one of it. What's the pshat of Nachman? What is the Rebbe saying to dress up as a person who's sleeping, tell him a story? To remind him that your whole life is also a story. Wake up, buddy. It's a story. So if he hears a story from somebody else, he starts thinking about his own story. What's his story? I was once in the shem and I was in Yaakov, and the Abishter brought me down. God put me down on this world to do something with myself, and he put me into this guf, and now I have a bechira, and I have to fight in this bechira. What am I doing? I've been sleeping for so long. And you see, that's why stories, somebody says a story, you see a 70-year-old guy after 70 years of living like a retard, sorry, I don't mean to say that, he'll tell you himself that, I don't have any better word, but he's living a life like a stoner life. Wakes up and says, God, where are you? He starts thinking about his own story. Nobody ever woke him up. It's true, nobody ever woke him up. Comes along a guy that went through the same thing, but he's 30 years old. He comes from New York, Miami, wherever he's from. And he woke himself up. He woke himself up because he found the light. And now he says over his story without saying Torah, without bringing anything in, but God saved me through this and this. God wakes up and says, what about my story? That's what the Rebbe is saying in Torah Samach. Bring in Sipur Ma'aseh schools to bring up your own story, and you wake up and realize, I have my own story. I gotta wake up and take care of my own story. That's what the Rebbe means. Why? Dafka. Baderech, he'll say the stories. Baderech is life story. Say it through Sipur Ma'aseh, because I'll wake up your own story. That's one sip shot. I wanted to say that what's interesting is we said that to wake somebody up from sleep. Listening, this is incredible. To wake somebody up from sleep. What does that mean? If you remember on Purim, the first year we gave on Purim, we spoke about that. What was the thing? What was the cheshbon of Haman and Achashverosh? They made a cheshbon that after 70 years, the 70 faces of Torah, each for 1 year. They made a cheshbon that after 70 years of galus, and they didn't get out of the galus. What happens? That means that they already, chas v'shalom, they lost it. They already lost it. What happened was they made the wrong cheshbon. What happened? Mordechai came along. Mordechai said to them, no. Let's do tshuva. 7 years passed. Mordechai, what does it say, Mordechai? How did May start? In Bixen and Seresh. State in the Gemara in Megillah that Mordechai knew 70 languages. Mordechai wasn't sleeping in the 70 sleepings. Nachman says that the chin of 70 Torah, a person be sleeping in 70 Torah. Mordechai wasn't sleeping. That's what the remez is, that he knew 70 lashonos of Torah. Sophis is really all comes from Hebrew. Hebrew is all kol ivrit. Ivrit is Torah. Mordechai never fell asleep. He was able to come and wake everybody else up. Why? Because he started saying his own story, because he didn't walk himself up in the Torah, he was able to wake everybody else up. Walk everybody else up, and that's where they were saved. That's the 70. What did Rav Nachman say about a Sipur Ma'aseh? The Sipur Ma'aseh have all 70 faces of the Torah in it. I wanted to connect it, that these 70 faces are connected to 70 to wake up from the shem, that just like Mordechai woke up, also, and what's the whole thing of a Mordechai? Haman, Amalek. Same thing. They didn't have to go through their story. Let me ask you a question. Why is it such a big thing that we read Megillah Esther? Because the Megillah Esther is a story. We have to read Megillah Esther every year to wake up our own stories. That's what I wanted to tie in. The pshat that I wanted to say, why we read this story is Mom is built into the reason why we say Megillah Esther. Why do we say Megillah Esther? Because Megillah Esther is a story built on sleeping, 7 years of sleeping. But what one tzaddik didn't, and he said over what? And he came in stark. That's what Nachman coming in his stories and saying, I'm not falling, I didn't sleep in my 70, but you're the ones who are sleeping, I have to wake you up with the 70 through the Sipur Ma'aseh to wake up your stories. That's the connection. That's the godless of the stories of Nachman. And the godless of every word of Nachman in Sipur Ma'aseh. You will see, we even start the story, we're just giving out the domo, and what he says, Banesio, on the traveling, I said, who cares when? Because it's in the Kuda, this is the whole reason why he said all Sipur Ma'aseh, to wake us up with our own story. Now, let's go a little weiter. So basically, the tzaddik, what he does is, when he says in his Sipur Ma'aseh, he wakes up your own story. You know what's interesting? There's a Megillah in Rus Rabbo, in the Parshas Heisim Chov Beis. It's Rus Rabbo. We brought down from a few times Rus Rabbo. It says over there that if Aaron HaKohen, let's go back 1 second. What's the point we're making? So each person has his story that's being written. Where is it being written, his story though? Upstairs. What does it say? It says that a person, when he goes up after 120, they open the books and say, look what you did. The tzaddik is waking up and saying, your story, by the way, every second, every move you do, everything is being written down. everything. Stories about people with clinical death that came down, that there was a Sefer Torah opened, and whenever they were over, the Isis came out. We don't understand, it's Ruchni. Everything's written down. You're scratching your arm, you're picking your nose, I'm serious, everything. I'm just trying to make a little bit of a humor out of it, but it's true. We spoke about it more in Chulin. More Chulin, Tav Zayin on the base, as a person can move his finger without them saying you can move it upstairs. It's incredible though, what's the pshat? The pshat is though, is saying over here that so the tzaddik is not just wake up your story, the tzaddik is remind you that your story is also being written at the same time up there. What's interesting is, so in Rus Rabbo it says that if Aaron HaKohen remembered that his story was being written when he came to, it says that he came to see Moshe Rabbeinu, right? Likras Moshe. When Moshe came back from Midian, he came to see Moshe Rabbeinu. It says in Rus Rabbo, this is what says Rus Rabbo, we don't know because Aaron HaKohen was a tremendous tzaddik, but it says in Rus Rabbo that if he thought about it, he would have came out with trumpets and dancing for Moshe Rabbeinu. To see Moshe Rabbeinu, the God is coming. What is the Rus Rabbo telling us? That a person has to remember every second that his life is a story and everything's being written upstairs. And that's what Sipur Maisis is reminding us. That's what the Rebbe had to address. All these chidushim that we'll see from every Kabbalah aspect is in each of these stories. Like I said last week, when we went through the first Maisis a little bit, the Chidushim said once he went through the Sipur Maisis, the first Maisil, he didn't understand at all. The second Maisil, he said he understood the first Maisil through the second Maisil. He read the third Maisil, he realized he didn't understand the first two. This is the Chidushim who was going to be going. He said, we'll bring some memories of Nachman about Sipur Maisis. But we're getting to the point is though, Sipur Maisis will wake you up to your own root, to your own life story. That they're writing everything up there. Now, so that's what it is. It's reminding us what our life story is and everything we're going through, and to keep strong, keep strong, whatever we're going through. It's okay to cry and fall and scream and curse. It's okay. Tell me, what if I curse God? I said, it's beautiful, it means you believe in Him. I said, that means you believe in God. If you didn't believe in God, you wouldn't curse God. I said, you're ready to step above than most people. Most people don't even think about God when something bad happens. So at least you bring it to God. Don't worry, God's shoulders are wide. God can handle your cursing Him. Obviously, it's not the best thing, but look at the good point. We said, right? You believe in God. Just be happy from that. Right? If you're cursing out God, well, what do you mean? You're screaming at somebody who doesn't exist? You believe the Evish is everywhere and the Evish still listens to you and you feel terrible. Okay, so you have to work on your immune a little bit stronger. You're good though. Now, Rabbeinu once said, by the way, what Rabbeinu said about Sipur Maisis, let's say a little bit. Rabbeinu one time said something cute. Rabbeinu said, people used to argue Rabbeinu, or in his time, Rabbeinu had a big machlokes, people machlokes, and a lot of it they said because the Rebbe Yitzchak one time heard the Rebbe Yitzchak said, so he turned to Rebbe Yitzchak gave us come and put him around. Nassim was by Rebbe Yitzchak before he came to Rabbeinu, and he told Rebbe Yitzchak, he came out, Rebbe Yitzchak turned to his family and he said, what can I do? Rav Nachman took everything already. That's the galus of Rav Nachman. He said, Rav Nachman has everything. But Nachman one time said that, but my Sipur Maisis, what could they say in my Sipur Maisis? After all, just good nice stories. So what's wrong about reading nice stories? He meant to say, I read the Sipur Maisis b'mafetz because at the end of the day, what's interesting is today that if you go to colleges, universities, people write books on the stories, on the psychology of the stories of Rav Nachman. If you forget about the Ruchni, they bring into a psychological aspect of all the different aspects of the neshama, the soul, and the psychological psyche and all that. Now, the Rebbe one time said another thing. The Rebbe said once, if somebody changes one word of my stories, you see the stories that the king and he went to drink and you're like, what's the difference? The Rebbe said you change one word, it means you have no idea what my stories are about. One word. Because one word changes everything. The Rebbe says. And you'll see, when we'll start the story, you'll see why every word mamish means everything. We'll try the best to go deep as possible, based on chassidus and Kabbalah and using our own logic. Now, let's continue a little bit. Rebbe one time said also another thing is where my unbelievable Rebbe said that somebody who knows all Zohar HaKadosh, all Rizah, all Sefer Kabbalah, he can understand a little bit of my Sipur Maisis. They say in breslev, the Anish, the old people of breslev, them say that the deepest form of Nachman are the stories. His stories are the deepest because they're packed in everything, but in a story. That's why the Chidushim always call everything. Interesting is also, just talking about stories, it's famous thing, the Baal Shem Tov used to always see the Xeris about what's going on, to travel, to be talking Xeris, on Cham Yisrael. says that when he used to see he wasn't able to be Metakan Zera, I feel he used to be Metakan Zera through Sipur through a story. You say a story also. You say a story, and through the story he was able to be Metakan these Zeras. Under the Klech of a Maisa. But what we just said, of course, because a Maisa wakes up, Tshuva for Am Yisrael, it opens up the gates of Tshuva, because it wakes up a person and say, hey, what about my life? What about I'm sleeping 70 days also, 70 years, whatever it is. Muhammad and all that we spoke about. Let's go a little weiter. So, but interesting, before we, Rabbeinu also said something very interesting. Rabbeinu said, the first time he started saying the stories, Rabbeinu said, I told you the tires. I told you the Diburim Batfila. It didn't help, so what can I do? I gotta start telling stories. That's what Nachman said. I gotta start being a storyteller. Obviously he meant something huge and above it, but he meant to say that, like we just said, that they were so asleep, and these are the students of Nachman, who were Kodesh Kodeshim, so imagine our generation, that we moms need the stories big time, as we would say. Big time, brothers, you know what I mean? Okay. What's interesting is, the Rebbe, what's the whole thing about Nachman? What's breslev? What about Shem? What about Shem bring to the world? They always say Baal Shem Tov brought to the world an aspect that wasn't there before, or was lost, as they would say, that to bring the elikus is everywhere. We always hear elikus, that you look at this kois, you look at this bottle, you look at anything, there's elikus in it, and try to find elikus in every single thing. Like the Rebbe says, elikus is godliness. Like the Rebbe says in Torah Yudzayin, tzaddik is able to see elikus in everything, and that's why he's able to say why the bottle's in this shape and this is in this shape, based on the tzuri, on the oisius of the Hashem, all the shems of Hashem that make up the physical aspect of it. Like we said the story of the Baal Tani went to wash. He came back into the room to make a moitzi. Baal Tani tried to make a moitzi, and he said no, he couldn't. So he went, he gave it to his student, he made it, whatever, he said, you. So they asked him, Rebbe, why do you make it? He said, when I came in, I didn't see the bread, I just saw the oisius of Hashem, Hashem, what am I making? Baruch Hashem, El Hashem. Can't make a bracha. So I had to be somebody to be moitzi me. It's a tzaddikim that they see just oisius, so incredible. So that's the Rebbe's whole thing was. If you look, in the first turn, look at the round, the Rebbe brings down something very special. The Rebbe says, Ki ishi Yisraeli, a Jewish person, tzarech Tomid, always needs to listak a look b'seichel in the seichel shall kol davar of everything. Will kasher atzmai and to attach himself el chochma to this chochma seichel sheish b'chol davar. K'dei shiur b'seichel sheish b'chol davar l'iskarv l'Hashem yisbarach dei oisei davar. Which we just said. A person by finding the seichel in each thing, through that he attaches himself, to the godliness, and that was the whole thing of chassidus. Why it was brought down. That's what Hashem brought to the world. And that's what Baal Shem Tov was. Baal Shem Tov brought to the world, the people, simple people said, we're not lamdanim, we're working all day, what are we going to do with Hashem? But Baal Shem says, you don't have to be lamdanim. You could look at the smallest of things in this godliness there. When you're working in the field, the grass is godliness. Plus the grass is we could do the best of sweaters, like we spoke about. But besides that, so why did the Rebbe bring this down this? So the Rebbe said to find the seichel in each thing. So the Rebbe said these deep aspects in Sipur Maisius because the Rebbe wanted us to look in the seichel of Sipur Maisius to find the deepest of elikus in the Sipur Maisius, just like to find the seichel in every single thing. That's another reason why he said Sipur Maisius. So we have two reasons why we said Sipur Maisius. One is the big reason which we built on Derech, on Molek, Baki Bratzi Bagashai, you go through ups and downs, how do you get out of it? So the Rebbe said to Sipur Maisius, and he has to wake you up to remind you that they're writing up your story also, and you get that, and then we just said another reason, a little bit of a funny, because the Rebbe said to look in the seichel of everything, but also the Rebbe hid the seichel in all these stories, to look in the stories about the seichel in it. The seichel, which is ain't so, like we just said, that if you know all the reasons on everything, you still just know a little bit of what the stories are. The feel of the what the Rebbe wrote these stories. I just want to touch on what we said before. We said that derech is two bekiyas, right? Baki b'ratzi, baki b'shoiv, right? If you told me two bakis equals derech. What are these two bakis? What does a person have to be a baki in what? In what? What are we talking about? A baki when he's falling up? What do you mean? So Rebbe in Torah Vov, one of the most famous Torahs of the Rebbe says over here like this. The Rebbe says, Ve'ikar adover, and the main thing, Sha'idei ha'adam kshuba madrega tachtoinu, when he's on a low madrega, ma'oid, very low madrega, ve'afal pikin m'chazig atzmei, he strengthens himself, u'mamin and believes, shegam shom yesh li tekfiyas hope, adayin ki gam shom nimtza Hashem yizborach, b'bchinas v'atzia sh'oli necho, that even in the depths, the abyss, Hashem is found there, azim ha'sechel, azim he drags let's go right, and that is Zebechas Baki B'Shoiv. What is Baki B'Shoiv? Returning to Hashem. That when you're in the lowest of places, you find godliness in the lowest of places. I want to tell you a story. I know somebody that was sitting in a nightclub in Manhattan, one of the biggest, fanciest, hottest nightclubs, and he tells me he's sitting there with the whole party, you can imagine, straight out of the movies, and all of a sudden he says he starts thinking about Rabbi Nachman in the club. That's what he tells me. It just came to him, Rabbi Nachman. He said, Baki Barotzi, Baki B'Shev, it's the Rebbe meant. I'm in a crazy party, Baki B'Shev. Rabbi Nachman, the Eibush sent me a full of Rabbi Nachman. That's Baki B'Shev. You know, lost the places, that is where the Eibush has found the most. And we'll touch on it in a second what that means. That's Baki B'Shev. Now what's Baki Barotzi? What's the second Baki? That's when you're down. Baki Barotzi is when you're up top. What's Baki Barotzi? Baki Barotzi is, the Rebbe, I'm just trying to find 1 second. Hold on 1 second, let me just find the exact thing that I'm looking for. Bear with me. Yeah. Baki Barotzi is רק צורך שיהיה בוקי בזה מאוד לידה to know how much we should start ללכת יויסר ויויסר. שזה בכנס בוקי ברוצי. That even when you're on the top, to know that you're nowhere. Always have to go higher. Always have to go higher. See, Moshe Rabbeinu, what he got in Har Sinai, the Arizal, what he got, all his asogis, Leon Veer, in the Baal Shem Tov, was a drop of what the Eibush is. And these are things that we have no idea what that means. Pel Peh. That's what the Rebbe means. We're in the lowest, know that you can be close to anywhere. Hashem's everywhere. We're in the highest, know you're nowhere. But the Rebbe says another thing. I was looking through, when I was learning Kutum Ran, I learned the Torah, that the Rebbe says an unbelievable thing. Listen to this. The Rebbe says, these two bakim, he said these bakim equals to derech. And this is what you need when a malach is fighting you. When you're up there, don't be a balgai, but don't feel, all of a sudden the Yitzhar says you're unbelievable. You're nothing, you know nothing still. And when you're down though, and that's really B'shvili Nivro Elam and Alpha Ve'efer. B'shvili Nivro Elam, when I'm down there, B'shvili Nivro Elam, I'm never able to create the whole world for me, so I can get out of anywhere. God's with me everywhere. Alpha Ve'efer though, when I'm up there, to know that you're dust. Isn't that unbelievable? Fits into everything. Now, what's interesting is, the Rebbe says, hold on. The Rebbe says in L'Kutim Iran, the Rebbe says something amazing. The Rebbe says that even when a person is up there, what happens is, if a person is up there, so he has the or, but he has to make sure that he gets more or. But when a person is down there, he has to find the or. That's the Baki B'Shoy, to go back. The Rebbe says there's a third thing, that even when you're up there, you could lose the or. How? By too much or. What happened? It says, right? It says that Yitzchak's eyes became dark. The Rebbe explains, you know why? He was so high that there was too much or, and the or blinded him. The Rebbe says that just like if you look at the shemesh too much, the sun, it blinds you. Yitzchak had so much or that somebody couldn't even handle, even that's Yitzchak, but that's the hugeness of God, that it made him a little blind, as the Rebbe says. Just touching on another thing, the Rebbe says in Sich Saran, and Nassim reads in Sich Saran, in Torah Gimel, the Rebbe in Sich Saran, he brings down something amazing. He says, this thing that you're on top, you should always know you're nothing. He says that tachlis yediyah. Tachlis of knowing is that you know nothing. That is the real knowing. When you know, I know nothing. And we're going to touch on that a little bit. Because when you know nothing, when you know something, that's, you know nothing. Because you know that you know nothing, because what God is infinite. And you're finite. Simple. Okay, so what's the vort though? I want to touch on. So when you're up there, you have to know, because that's gaiva. You have to know, don't be about gaiva. And tachlis yediyah, you know that you don't know anything. And then we just said, even up there, you could also have too much or, so you have to know how to be with something. Take things slowly. You know, a lot of Baal Teshuvas, they take things and they take everything quick and then they burst because too much or. You need to build a kelim. And what's interesting is talking about that. Rav Nosson says, by the way, Rav Nosson says in Hilchot Shabbos, I one time asked a friend of mine, when I first came to breslev, I asked him, I said, according to Rav Nachman, what does this mean? That's me a hezber. It said that Goy Shem Shabbos is Chayv Miso. What do we care if he's Shem Shabbos? Goy learns Torah is Chayv Miso, Rambam Paskin, Aloch. What do we care? Show me Rav Nosson's masber. Nosson says, not that he's Chayv Miso. Nosson says in a different way, through Adei chassidus and Shabbos. Nosson says, Shabbos is so holy that the Eibush only gave it to a Yid because the Yid has the kelim to accept Shabbos. A Goy doesn't accept Shabbos. The Shabbos will accept, but the Shabbos is going to burn again. He doesn't have the kelim, that's why he's Chayv Misa. That is Chayv Misa, he's Chayv Misa because you watch Shabbos. Shabbos is too strong for him, the Shabbos will just end up burning him. Same with Torah. That's the godless of Nosson.
Yeah. Is
Goy is keep Shabbos. He has to Mechal Shabbos. Shomer Shabbos. Because the Shabbos is too strong for him. Will destroy him. That's also the same thing. Like we just said, Rebbe or like with the Yitzchak. A person has to know also how to be with something the or to his level. But I want to say that what does it mean that when you're down you have to be Baki B'Shoiv? What's Baki B'Shoiv? The Rebbe says in Chelik Beis, everything's good. Everything's rolling. Everything's good. In Chelik Beis, in Torah Beis, the famous Torah of Aye. The Rebbe says to go to Reish Beis and Kuratayv and also Aye. Aye is what? It says in the pasuk. The pasuk says Aye Asel Oilo. Listening, Shragi, listen, it's unbelievable. Listen to this. Aye Asel Oilo. What's Aye Asel Oilo? Aye Asel Oilo is Aye. Aye, where are you, Abba? When a person falls into the depths, he has to ask himself, where are you, Rebbeinu Shalom? Look how far I feel, I need you. That's Baki B'Shoiv. A person has to know, the world was created for me, and the Eibush is everywhere, even in the lowest of places. I want to tell you something amazing. We touched on this. In Kabbalah, there's a tremendous aspect of Aragonas. Aragonas is the light that the Eibush created the world. When he created the world, it was a light, and he had to hide it in the Turkey so that Hashem would use it for bad. This light is something that's infinite. You become one with Eibush, and only another Mahaba will be in that Aron Yisrael, Biezrat HaShem. Now, what's this Aron Yisrael? What's the parish in Aron Yisrael? With Nassim Masber, it's the Tzaddik Amiti. The Tzaddik Amiti is completely bottom to the Rebbeinu Shalom. What's the Tzaddik Amiti? What's his koyach? That he sees everything I call it Tovah. Aragonos is that in the future world, we'll see how everything was perfect and everything will just be amazing, which you can't understand the levels, because you see everything was perfect. That's Aragonos. That is the Or. Like it says in Shulchan Aruch, the Shulchan Paskins. It's famous Gemara also. That after Mashiach comes, it's not going to be any Baruch dynamics. It's not going to be Tev Mametiv. Because there won't be B'chines Tev Ra. Ra will be bottled. Because they're in the shayrish of things, the Rebbeinu Shalom, which is Aragonos Ein Sof, is only good. We said in the Kabbalah aspect, when it comes down to Klippas, grab onto and they change around the Tzuri Oisis, and the Eibush did on purpose to create a Bechira in the world. This Bechira though will be bottom votel because there's no Bechira when you bottom votel to the Rebbeinu Shalom. You only in the Or Ein Sof. That is the Makam of Aye. In Kabbalah, Makam of Aye, when you scream to Hashem, Hashem help me, I'm nowhere, I'm the abyss. That's really where the Aragonas is. That's where through that. That's why you read this Tachas Aliyah, because in that place you get the highest place, because that is where Hashem is found most, because that's where they're on the surface, and that's where there's only good. And that's what the Rebbe means in Torah base. The Aye, Rebbeinu, where are you? We said something, an amazing chiddush when I was learning in Parshas Bereshis. Rebbeinu turned to other Rishon after he did the Chet, and he said Ayeko. So Rashi asked the Pasuk Kasho. Rebbeinu didn't know what other Rishon was, so he says he didn't want to startle him. I was very bothered by that. I realized no. That's not what the Rebbeinu Shalom. Rebbeinu Shalom is not asking other Rishon where he is. Rebbeinu Shalom is saying, other Rishon, you want to do tshuva. Everybody wants to do tshuva. They feel terrible after. You want to do tshuva. You knew he messed up. The few some people he actually wanted, he had good intentions, ki'ilu. It's a deep shot, like the Ramchal, that he wanted to build worlds. The Nachman restrict him into something doing good because he thought he was doing good. But he should have listened to Rebbeinu Shalom, so that part he messed up. But he had good intentions, ki'ilu. Just like with the Egel, it says they had good intentions, according to some Pshatim, but most Pshatim. But the Pshat is, Ayeka, Rebbeinu Shalom, you want to come back to me to tshuva? Ayeka, through Ayi, scream to me. That's how you come back to me. He wasn't asking him, he was telling him the tshuva of how to come back to me. See, he wasn't asking where you are. Rebbeinu Shalom knew exactly where he was. Because Rebbeinu Shalom knew exactly where it was, where he was in depression because he knew he fell. Rebbeinu Shalom was saying, don't worry, scream to me, Ayi. The Aragonas will take care of you. Everything is good. You could come back to me. I created the world for this, for fallings. And Hashem says the world was made for a merry, a roller coaster. Like we just said, tzaddik always falls, and he falls infinite times, but he picks himself up. And the tzaddik amit is bottom voltage of Aragonas. Ayi falls because the fallings are really good. And when Mashiach comes, we'll see why all the fallings were good. Because when he got up, everything was good, and that's when he said also becomes mitzvahs, right? It says it becomes schuyas. When a person does averis, and then he does tshuva me'ava, it becomes schuyas. Well, he said it comes from Reish Lakish. Reish Lakish said the memory in Gemara in Yuma. Because only Reish Lakish could say that, because Reish Lakish was the biggest bandit, and he did tshuva. Comes only Reish Lakish and said, I know that. I can say such a thing. That my averis all became schuyas afterwards. Like we said, Rabbi Yochanan, after Reish Lakish was on this, Rabbi Yochanan went nuts. And nobody alarmed with. That was the galus of Reish Lakish. And Tzadikim, and it says the Rabbanim davened for him, should nifter because they felt so bad for him. But the Indian is, what the Rabbanim felt bad that Rabbi Yochanan was so sick, he lost his mind because he had nobody to learn with anymore because Reish Lakish was nifter, nobody was on the level to learn with him. So they asked that there was just no reason for him to be here anymore. They davened he should rejoin Reish Lakish in the Yeshiva Shamayla upstairs. But that's what the Rebbe means in Torah base about Aye, about being bottom Aragonas, and that's how somebody can get back. Now we can finally start. This is all about Derek. Now we can start the story. Chevra, let's start the story a little bit, right? There was a story with a king. Shahoyu Olav Kamal Melchomos Kvedos. That he had many, not many, I'm sorry, Kamal. He had a few strong Melchomos. And he conquered these battles and wars. And he took many captives. Let's be masbeh this. Like we said, the Rebbe, each word is so deep. Who's the Melech here? Melech is not talking about the Rebbeinu Shalom. The first story we said talking about the Rebbeinu Shalom. Here it's talking about the tzaddik Amiti. How do we know the tzaddik is considered a Melech? I'm bringing you the Gemara, it's a Gemara in Gittin. Gemara in Gittin says, Samach Beit Hamad Aleph, Man Malchi, who are the kings? Rabbanim. The Rabbanim. The tzaddikim. Why? The Gemara says, Shetalmidei HaChachamim Amitim, the true Talmidei HaChachamim, Nikreim Melochim, Ki Nitel Lehem Melucha U'Memshala Min HaShamayim. The Rebbeinu gave them to rule. He gave them the power to rule. And not just that. Why did the Eibishter give them to rule? So they could bring people back to serve the Eibishter. The Gemara in Moed Kotan Tazayin Omid Beis says, Mi Moshel Bi. The Rebbeinu asks, who rules me? The Gemara answered, Tzaddik. Why? Shani Goizer, Gzero, U'Mevatel. And the Tzaddik is Mevatel Gzero. So we see the Tzaddik. Where do we see? So when the Rebbe says the Melech, he's talking about the Tzaddik. How do we know he's talking about the Tzaddik? Because the Melech is B'chinav Tzaddik. We just said in the Gemara in Gittin and the Gemara in Moed Kotan. Now, I will ask the Kasha, the Tzaddik we should have said is the prince. God's the king. But the few we just said, no, Diker, Nachman's using the Lashon of Melech, because the king, the Rebbeinu Shalom gives over Kiyuv, the Meluch, to the Tzaddik Amiti, that the Tzaddik Amiti is the one that rules the world. Why? Just to bring back people to the true king. That's what the Rebbe says, Dafka Maisa B'Melech, not Nasik. Why does he say prince? Prince, the Tzaddik is the son. No, he's the Melech. Now, so I want to say Pshat. Let's go weiter a little bit. Really, Rav Nachman says, interesting, I wrote down the Torah, Rav Nachman says in Siman Nunvov, not in Chelik Aleph, Nachman says a very interesting thing. The Rebbe says in Siman Nunvov, Zok Teil Rebbe, that really, let me just find it, excuse me. The Rebbe says, Ki yesh b'cholach nisor b'chinas. Really, every Jew has kingship. B'cholach l'fi b'chinas, everybody to his level. Yesh shu shar b'beis, somebody's the king of his house. Well, right? Famous joke is that she's wearing the pants, right? But the Rebbe is saying that doesn't mean in that way. He doesn't use it to rule his wife or anything. He uses it to direct his family in the ways of Hashem. That's true Melucha. Bezrat HaShem, we should all be zoicha to build a house like that. V'yeshu Moshe B'yoser, and there's a person who's on the world, on the cities, on the world. So that's really everybody. I'm just saying the Rebbe says there's a of Melucha in every yid. But we're saying that Tzaddik is the real king because Tzaddik is Melucha over the whole world. Because he can move out to Xeris and everything. Now, it says in, so I want to read a few things from Sefer Midas, what the Rebbe says in Sefer Midas about the Tzaddik. Sefer Midas in Ois Tzaddik, by Tzaddik, where the Rebbe talks about the Tzaddik, the meaning of a Tzaddik. Let's see the unbelievable things the Rebbe talks about a Tzaddik. The Rebbe says, I wrote down the Mekaymis that I was looking through, Ois Nun Dalet. We're going to read each one inside, it's good to read each word of Sefer Midas inside. The Rebbe, the Heilige Rebbe. Siman Nun Dalet, the Rebbe says, Tzaddik b'diburoi, the Tzaddik with his speech, Yochel Lifsoi, can paskin, l'zeh Gan Eden, l'zeh Gehenna. You understand that Tzaddik has the right to say, this person goes to Gan Eden, this person goes to Gehenna. Just to show the kingship of a Tzaddik. Tzaddik has the right to say, he goes here and he goes here. That's in Nun Dalet. Next one that I brought down. Ois Nun Tes in Tzaddik. The Rebbe says, Masha Tzaddik Mechash B'Torah, what the Tzaddik makes new in the Torah is Chidushim HaKadosh Baruch Hu Oyimro B'Shmoi. The Rebbeinu Shalom says these Chidushim in the name of the Tzaddik. It's like the Rebbeinu Shalom is Mevatel himself to the Tzaddik. Incredible. Let's see weiter. That's Nun Tes.
HaKadosh Baruch Hu says it in the name of the Tzaddik?
Yes. We're trying to show that the Meluch of a Tzaddik. So that's what the Rebbe means, the Ma'asav HaMelech that went to wars, we're talking about the Tzaddik. No, explain what the wars he has. Now, let's go a little weiter. The Rebbe says now in Kufchof, excuse me. Let's go a little weiter. It's tremendous long pieces here. Kufchof. The Rebbe says something like this. Upstairs they say this and this amount of people are going to die. And there's one of these people that the tzaddik really loves him because he's really attached to tzaddik. There is the power of this tzaddik all of the daven on this person to take somebody else and put him in his place to die instead of him and save him. We see how the tzaddik do whatever he wants, it looks like. Rambam Betzim says that there's only 5 things there's a difference between the tzaddik and God. Those 5 things are oilamists, forget about. But these things he sees Rosh gave him a lucha to a tzaddik. Let's see the next thing. That's in Kufchof. Kuf Chav Zayin. The Rebbe says like this. The Rebbe says, Misha Menasses a tzaddik, one who puts a tzaddik to a test, he tries to like test a tzaddik, Kilo Menasses a Kodesh Baruch Hu. It's like he's testing a Kodesh Baruch Hu. You see people like, what is this tzaddik know? What is this one? So you're basically saying, God, what do you know? I don't think anybody would like to say that. Because it's like Kodesh Baruch Hu is saying, I'm the same thing as a tzaddik. But Berlin always says, when you find a tzaddik, you find the Rebbe Shalom. This is what the Rebbe is saying, not that the tzaddik's Rebbe Shalom, chas v'shalom. Some guys against breslev now, they come and say, breslevers are saying that tzaddik is God. Everybody's against breslev. No idiot. I'm saying no idiot. I'm using such a, because I hear this all the time. I hear someone, I want to say this, I'm a rabbi who has thousands of views on YouTube, and he rips breslev. He's an apikoros. He says that people make Rav Nachman into God. No. Because if you realize, and you look at the Chavetz Chaim, you look at every other sefer, and you look at all the Rishonim, he makes these the biggest going, nice Rishonim, and every chassidish sefer, you have to attach yourself to the tzaddik when you daven, because klippus attach yourself to them onto your tefillah, because you do have aveiros, and the tzaddik helps you. That's why in breslev we say, "Reni mekashet atzmi," because we need the tzaddik to help us bring it up to the Rebbe Shalom. You start saying it's about Yeshu, you start saying crazy things. And people listen to the person. I don't know, I wanted to break the screen of my computer. It's just to arrive from the Rebbe Shalom, a simon, not to look at the computer, Baruch Hashem. This person, people are bringing from Tzaddik Bal'ir, Mashiach is coming because of him, Mashiach is coming from him. So I would be almost positive to say that he's being ma'akav Mashiach by saying things. Going against 40,000 people that come to Uman, that you know what, that if one tikkun klal, you have 40,000 people together, what the Rebbe said. But some guy, some young shmo coming today is going to start talking about Nachman breslev. I once heard of Shalom Arash never talks about people. But one time somebody got up, one big Rav said something about against breslev. They asked the Rav what he said. He said, listen. He said, I don't know anything. He said, I'd be scared to open my mouth and say something about Nachman breslev. And that's how the conversation started and ended. I'm saying the same thing. Nobody's saying, but we see for 7 years, the Rebbe is saying that your boy should be the tzaddik HaKoyach. And it says, Minu b'Hashem u'Moshe Avdu. It goes hand in hand. It's the same thing. Not that it's the same thing. It means you have to believe in both. Because the godliness that's on this world is found for the tzaddikim. The tzaddikim show us the way to get to the godliness. Of course there's only God. Nobody will tell you not. But it tells you he's apikoros. But start saying this way is also apikoros. You're hating on somebody because you see the person is taking the world and changing them for the better, Baruch Hashem. See, never. They're jealous that somebody 250 years ago was in the biggest darkest is turning people around their lives, not you. You only have 2,000 views on a YouTube video. Oy vavoy. It upsets me, and I know we're seeing it on the tape, but people should know how to answer people that goes against Rav Nachman, that nobody should ever take this. And know how to answer people. Chas v'shalom. It's only the Rebbe Shalom. And I'm sitting 3 years in breslev, and all I think about all this is Rebbe Shalom, not Rav Nachman. It's only because Rav Nachman brought me to this place. Okay, that's a Kuf Chav Zayin. Let's say another one. I brought down over here in Kuf Mem Zayin. The Rebbe brings down Sefer Amid. This Kuf Mem Zayin, the Rebbe says, Hashevach shemshachchen et tzaddikim, the praise that you praise tzaddikim, kilo mshachchen et Kodesh Baruch Hu. It's like you're praising God. Another thing. Now, in Chelik Beis, in Siman Tzaddik, of Tzaddik is Chelik Alpha Beis, the Rebbe brings in Chelik Beis, and the Rebbe says an amazing thing, and then we'll continue. I'm just showing you how much you see in Tzaddik as such koyach. Idea skora shmoi tzaddikim, by mentioning the names of tzaddikim, yicholim lahav yishinim b'maaseh gracious. You could change the way the world was created. True thing. Kloimer l'shana setavet, to change nature. The similar dog the Rebbe says, the similar to this, it says in the pasuk Eila tolas Rav Shemayim ba'aretz, and it says ve'eila shmois b'nei Yisrael. Zer shava. The shmois b'nei Yisrael, which is talking about the tzaddikim, shmois, the what? Shemai, the what? Ve'eila of tolas Shemayim. Rav Nosson wrote a sefer called Sefer HaShemis, right? Shemis HaTzaddikim, it's a sefer that is very thick and long. It brings down all the tzaddikim, starting from Adam all the way to like the chassidish Welt, the past 100 years now, and it brings down, and that it says it's Shini Maisu. The people have read that, said they've seen unbelievable things. You can read like the Hillel. Another thing, you just read it. Just read it. Unbelievable sefer. It brings Shini Maisu. Rebbe says it clearly. I want to tell you one other thing. Rebbe says, and then we'll go weiter. The Rebbe says, in Chelik Beis, in Torah Samach Zayin, remember the Rebbe says something incredible. The Rebbe says, Torah Samach Zayin, Zok Te'el Rebbe, and look at the Maran Beis, Torah Zayin. Let me just find this line, I saw a while ago. At Tzaddik Shu HaYofi V'Abeher V'Achin Shekolam Kuloi. The Tzaddik is the beauty of the whole world. the Rebbe says. The tzaddik is the beauty of the whole world. Listen to this. When this tzaddik's beauty is revealed in the world, grows in the world, and what? And they can start getting closer to God. Just by seeing the beauty of this tzaddik. I'm just trying to show that when the Rebbe says the tzaddik is the melech is the tzaddik, he really is the melech. Obviously because the Rebbe Shalom made it that way. Okay. Now let's explain now what Shahayu Olav Kama Milchomas Kveidis V'Kovashos. And the Rebbe says that. Now, tzaddikim, by the way, tzaddikim go through the biggest battles in physical things and spiritual things that any human mankind has gone through. Now, maybe that Rishonim go against them, maybe the Amalek we just spoke about, maybe them chasing themselves, that they're not doing enough, they have to go through every single battle non-stop. Tzaddikim go through the most. But what? They're kovish to Muhammad, they win these spiritual battles. When the Rebbe says that this tzaddik had many battles, what does it mean, kama? Oh, I want to be a raya. Kama kveidis, he had a few heavy battles, but we said for Rav Nosson, a few, he has 7 few heavy battles, but in those 7 there's ain't-self battles. Again, I want to be medayik, and the Rebbe's Lashon, he said each word, what does it mean, Shani? Olav kama, it's like kama, few. It said harbe, what's Lashon kama? Because Rav Nosson said, he had a few heavy battles. What do you mean, the Rebbe Tzaddik has a few heavy battles? He has trillions. Few of the, like we said, the 7 big ones, but they're called all the other battles of that's endless. That's what the Rebbe means, kama. Because I was looking, what do you mean the Rebbe said kama? Now, the Rebbe says, look at this is unbelievable. But how does a tzaddik win this? Because he's a lion. He fights like a lion. What's the intro? When a person gets up the first morning, what's he have to do? Yiskabakari, wake up like a lion. A lion never gets down, never backs away from his prey. A tzaddik never backs away from what? From his Yitzhahara. Never backs away. That's why it's the first thing in the morning. Get up, Yiskabakari, lama b'boker. Why? Why that? It means for the whole day. Yiskabakari for everything. Always be a lion. Now, we said that the tzaddik has to go through the most ups and downs. How do we know that? The Etzim, it's a Gemara. The Gemara says in Sukkot Numei Zamanal, the Gemara brings down a pasuk in Yoel, from Tanakh, in Perek Beis Bachas Halal, Ki Higel Lasos. The Gemara says going Tamidei Chacham, that they have the most. They have the most to do, because they have the most battles. And then the famous Gemara, the same Gemara over there, that what? Everybody, what? Kol, Hagodol Mechavrei, Yitzhar Godol Mehemnu. Whoever's bigger than his friend, his Yitzhar is also bigger. Right? The tzaddik has to go through more. Now, but why is he a tzaddik? He's a tzaddik because only he went through these hardships and he beat these hardships. He was machzik mamad. He stayed in his place and he said, "I'm not going to back down." Kari, he was a lion. That's how he became a tzaddik. The Varash always says, people think tzaddik, they're easy going. He said it's easy now because of all they went through. You didn't see them in the first 30 years that they were crying for 30 years in the forest, beating themselves up. After 30 years, they finally said, Baruch Hashem, he brought me to this place. That's the only way. It's the only way. What's Tehillim? He said Tehillim is the Davar Melch's chassidus. What does it say? This Muhammad, that Muhammad. What's Davar Melch's Muhammad? Yeah, it's the Yitzhar Muhammad. It's not a physical, it's a spiritual Muhammad he had. Spiritual Muhammad he had. What did he do? He went to the field. What's Tehillim? His own private fields. He went to do his chassidus. He went to do his chassidus in his bed. You want to win? The tzaddik goes to the field for years. And he davens on each nekuda over and over. And he identifies each nekuda like a diamond. That's what we have to go to the field. That's what the tzaddik does. That's what Tehillim is. Tehillim is his chassidus. David HaMelech for the biggest wars. What are the mechamas? Kavish mechamas. The King David, right? King David, Psalms. What did he go through the wars? That's what the Rebbe means. The Melech, the Tzaddik. The Melech is the Tzaddik Amiti. He went through the wars. He went to the field and he did Tehillim. And he beat it. And he beat it. What did he say? Hashem Shavis Hashem Eki Sami. Always Hashem in front of my eyes. That's how you beat it. Having Hashem. Achashalti. I want to be in Hashem's house always, he said. It's the only way to beat it. It doesn't have to be literally by Medrash. Here you're always with the God. You're on the bus, you start thinking about God. You start thinking about that you can't control your eyes. Because we all can't without God's help. The Baruch Shalom, help me control my eyes. This is what the Pasuk says. The Pasuk in Parashat Kiseitze. We're getting close. Kiseitze l'mulchama leivecho. When a person goes out to war and his enemy, what is that war? Zok tehele Reb Nachman, Rekuta Moran, all chassidus Sforim, Mekatzka, Baal Shem Tov, all the Kiseitze l'mulchama your Yetzer Hara, leivecho is Yetzer Hara. All the macham that Kiseitze is your Yetzer Hara. We all have the Yetzer Hara. We all have to beat it. You know what the Baal Turim says? Baal Turim. I'll read you a Lashon. I found the Baal Turim says, unbelievable. Zok the Baal Turim. Kiseitze l'macham azel l'shoni she'en yoytz l'machal el tzadikim. You know, to go out to the war, the tzadikim. This is what we're talking about. The tzadikim have to go out because they want to be tzadikim. And we all do. We all have to go through that war. Spiritual, physical. You don't have money. You don't have this. Your parents got divorced. You got divorced. You went through this. It's all Yetzirah. It's all war. It's all Amalek. And we need derech. We need nishnei b'kiyas, not to fall, not to be gaivo. That's what it is. Eivecho. That's what the Baal Turim is saying. Tzadikim. Tzadikim have the biggest malchomas always. It also says in the pasuk, very Esau, Lashon Yachid, because the pasuk is trying to tell you it's not the war that closed the war that Am Yisrael went out. Each of us have our war. Each of us have David HaMelech. Each of us have this. We're kings. We spoke from Nachman. Each person is a king in his own house. Each person brings his house to Rabbanu Shalom, to his own heart to Rabbanu Shalom. How? To beat the Melchames. How do you beat the Melchames? How? Through what? Through tefillah. What does it say in the pasuk there? I looked weiter. I brought the pasuk. What does it say after that? V'nosnu Hashem yodecho. And Hashem will give you in your hands. The only way to beat it is Hashem. How is Hashem going to give it to you? Hashem waits for your tefillas, for your spoidus, what David HaMelech went through, where Nachman cried as a kid, and all of us cry when we need help from Hashem. We should do it even when we don't need help. Because then we show the Rebbe Shalom that we don't just come to you when we need you. Because we need you every second, like he said. Because every breath we need from Rebbe Shalom. The Gemara says you have to think in every breath. Do you guys think about this every day? That in any second you could, God forbid, drop dead? Sorry to say, blunt as that, but it's true. You read the news, you see it. It's scary. I think about it, I get scared. But then I think about it, how it brings me to good places to thank Hashem on every breath I have, and every wink I do, and every smile, and every time I fall down and pick myself up because the schar is going to be who knows what. And not the schar, but just a lot of the godliness that I'm going to be able to come close to. So what else is the point? Now, the first slumber, the Domsker Rebbe says an unbelievable thing. The Domsker Rebbe says, the first slumber, the first slumber saw, the Sefer, he brings down, Kiseitz l'molchom HaTzadik, which we're all tzadikim Baruch Hashem, we call him to Am Yisrael, and they daven, and it doesn't happen. You fall down again, even after you win, you fall down. God, what's going on? Why did I fall down? Everybody has that question. God, what's going on? Kiseitz l'molchom. Baderech. You're coming down in Hashem just for this. So of course you're going to keep on falling. But just keep on getting up. First time the Pasuk is being meramis. This whole thing I was saying, the Amalek is going to keep on coming back. But once you learn the swing of it, you learn your enemy's tactics. Okay, keep coming back. You keep on beating him off, just like you beat him off every time. You're not scared that he's going to come back because you know you beat him. How are you going to beat him? When the sun Hashem Yedach through tefillah. It's not a hot talking mouth, it's talking to Hashem. Right? First one it says, then he says also, he says Iker, he says the Iker Yitzia to this world is through for Mechama, for fighting. That's why we come down is for fighting. Then he says, at the end of Parashat Shaitim, which is Parashat before Kiseitz, the last pasuk it says over there, I read the pasuk, it says, Kitase Yosher Einei Hashem, and then it says Kitase Mechama. That Yosher Einei Hashem is what? What is right and straight in the eyes of Hashem is Kiseitz Mechama, that a Jew goes out and battles. That's why we're put down here. To go down and battle. That's what we're here for. I want to read you one thing from Likutei Halachos. Nassim says Likutei Halachos. Nassim says one lashon. I'll tell you, read one part. And Hilchos I know. I remember learning this piece. And Baruch Hashem, Rebbe Shalom brought it back. I should bring it and show you the unbelievable piece. Hilchos I know. Hilchos I know. Hold on. Let me just find the piece. Hold on. Yes. V'aklal. כשאדם לא יצא לקרוב להשם, person gets to go to Hashem, לא שתשובה, he must be tshuva. He has to go through millions and trillions of ups and downs. What does he say? Because V'chol elo yiliyas, if you read, so all these ups and downs, even a Kalach HaMisrael that goes through all the Jews, every Jew is really included in all of Am Yisrael. So all the gullies and all the Torahs that went through Am Yisrael, now that you want to become close to Hashem, you have to go through all of those Mechamas and Tzaras. Each Melchama, and only you going through that, is you have to make up for each single Jew. It's tough, but it's worth it in the end. It's worth it. But that's the Rebbe Nassim's Masber. Why there's so many fallings? Why do I have to fall so many times? Because I have to also go through all the gullies from everybody else. Look at Hilchos Eino, in Hilchos Eino, Halacha Gimel.
Why do we have to do that?
Because the tzaddik has to come and be metaking other people, because that's the whole thing with the tzaddik. That is what we'll get to the Shavisa.
We're tzaddikim?
Of course we're all tzaddikim. Of course, we all have a neshama that's attached to Eibush. We have to believe it though. That's the problem. And that's what the Rebbe says, that he, through his mechamas, he took a lot of captives. What are those captives? All the lost souls. We'll get to that next year. I thought we'll get to this year, but it's getting late. Now, I want to just say one more thing. Now, I wanted to say one last thing, and we'll go weiter. Biezrat HaShem next week we'll continue with this thing of Shavisa, what the Macham, what this Macham is, and what do the captives represent, the Neshamas, and how we get to the Neshamas out. So it's very deep. But look, we started with Akdama now, with Derek, and what's the point of premises. The next thing is, one last thing is, like this. Nachman says in Torah, in Siman Kuf Zayin, in Chelik Aleph, Siman Kuf Zayin, in Kut around Torah Kuf Zayin, he says, Ki seitz Macham Leivecho. Who is this Eivecho? The Yetzirah. How do you beat the Yetzirah? V'nasam Hashem Lekecha B'yadecha. What's B'yadecha? This is what we spoke about the first time. I just want to go back because it's so beautiful. What's B'yadecha? Emunah. What happened? The one place the Torah talks about Amalek, the Mechama. What happened? Moshe Rabbeinu was with his hands up. V'ahi yodav be'emunah. Zok targum onkelis prishon b'tziloi. They were spread out with prayer. What is emunah? Tefillah. His hands were up because when Am Yisrael saw their hands were up, they saw tefillah. When they daven, they beat Amalek. Why is that? Why do we read Amalek every year? Because we have Amalek inside of us, which is Vegas. How do we beat it with our hands up? Yodav be'emunah from tefillah. What is the emunah and tefillah? Hisboididus. What's hisboididus? Taking yourself to the field or to a quiet place and begging the Rebbe and saying, Abba, I cannot do this. And if you don't help me, I will fall. Do you want me to fall? I'm your child. Does that make sense? You created in the nature of a father that's a biological father, that he can't handle it. You're the King of Kings. You have all the Rahmanas. How could you handle it? I don't deserve anything, God. But I'm your son. Help me. Help me. I went to the field today. I'll be honest, I was crying today. I said, I have nothing to say for my actions. I don't deserve one blessed thing. But I'm your son. So it's kind of too bad on you. The Rebbe says you have to say Azaz L'dush. You have to come to a Rebbe with a little bit of chutzpah. But not a chutzpah where you deserve something. He said, it's too bad. You made me a yid. I didn't know. I'm very thankful he made me. But now that I'm your child, how can you leave me hanging like this? I cried on that. You could cry forever on it. I cried. I have tremendous ups and downs. You can't imagine. I cry all the time. But I come with this taina. Because I can't come with taina I deserve. We deserve something? Look through the day. You woke up for Tikkun Chatzos? Did you do this? You do that? Or what? Krishan B'tzila, he swore to this Rebbe Shalom, I'm your son. We asked the Kasha. It says that the two people, Chor, right, Mitzvah were holding the hands and they let it down. We asked, the whole war was to win, was based on the hands up. Why didn't they keep the hands up? We asked another Kasha, why didn't Moshe Rabbeinu himself go out to fight them? Another Kasha, why didn't Rebbe Shalom himself destroy Amalek? Another question, two questions is, it says Lefi Chorav. Why is the pasuk say Lefi Chorav? According to their sword, they won. What do you mean, Fi? According to their sword, what's the lashon? Also, who cares what type of ammunition they were using? Tanks? They were using planes or swords? Who cares? What? He said one answer. Answers all the kashas. And we'll end with this. The Melchama of Amalek, how do you win? We just said through tefillah. Prisha Metzila through tefillah. What's tefillah? It's Voidus. The Rebbe Shalom created the world. Why? For Bechira. The person to have ups and downs. The Rashash from the Rosh Kabbalah a couple hundred years ago says, these ups and downs, like the person we said about this last week, it's a tremendous aspect in Kabbalah. When a person falls down, this falling down is already created before Biezrat HaShem. Maybe she created all the falling downs of each Jew before. Comes along the question, where's the Bechira? The Bechira is how do you accept it? You accept the Amunah B'tachin or accept it without it? The falling, you have a falling. The The person always says there's no savonis. Hashem, when am I going to fall out? When am I going to beat this? When are you going to beat this? When I decide it for you. I'm not asking you to love. I'm asking you just to deal with it. That's the Bechir. The Rebbe Shalom created, why didn't Rebbe Shalom destroy Amalek then? Because that's the whole point of the world. Derech, you're on your life's journey like we spoke about. Comes along Amalek on the derech with Sveikis, and you have now Bechira. How do you accept that Bechira? So why did Moshe Rabbeinu go out to fight? Because Moshe Rabbeinu is a tzaddik amiti. What is a tzaddik amiti? He's bottom of on the Araganos. He sees only good. So he's not going to fight Amalek. Because Amalek to him is only good. I know it sounds crazy, but Amalek is only good. What's Amalek? Amalek is coming for him, it's good because it brings down on and it brings the schar Am Yisrael. So Moshe Rabbeinu couldn't go out. That's why Yeshua had to go. Because Yeshua wasn't bottom completely like Moshe Rabbeinu. What was the third kash? Let's answer the kash. What was the third kash? Why did they put their hands always up? Because they were trying to bring a remes to our generations. Why were they bringing a remes to our generations? That you're going to have your fallings, like Rav Nosson said, you're going to have your fallings falling down 7 times. They were putting their hands up because it's not always going to be the hands up. But what? Put your hands back up. That's the other thing. Go back to the field and do a sliders. Why is Lefi Charav? The Rebbe says in the Torah base, Charav is Bechin of Tefillah. Charav is 2 heads of a sword. Why is that Tefillah? The sword is like a 2-edged sword, is Tefillah. When a person davens, he comes to 2 things. Either davens, the first thing he says, he asks Hashem, he praises Hashem. The Rebbe says in the Torah base, and the second thing he does, he asks Hashem for what he needs. Not that I deserved it, but what does the Rebbe say? That's why. Lefi Charav, Lefi the Charav, which is the Tefillah. What's Lefi Charav? Lefi that Charav. That's what answers both kashas. Lefi the Charav. Why the Charav? Because Charav is tefillah. That's why I say what type of ammunition. And Lefi Charav, Lefi is the Lefi. The more they daven, the more they won. The more we daven, the more we win. Dr. Nelson and breslev. That any time you saw lacking is either what the person didn't daven on at all or not enough. Because if a person davens enough, there'll be no lacking. And that's the Gula process we said when we spoke on Moshiach. There's no lacking because you get to the core of it through tefillah. And if Nelson said, my Gula came already. One last thing. What's the Charav also? The feet also could be P, the mouth. Tefillah, the mouth, diburim. Remember we said, why is a person to daven? Just think. I met somebody, he says, what? Why should I daven and talk to Hashem? I think in my head, and Hashem knows what I'm talking about. Nachman asked that question. Nachman said a beautiful answer. He says, what do you think? Of course Hashem knows. But in order to get the shefa from Hashem, you need it's for you. Like Shrag is saying. Shrag remembers exactly. You're building the kalim. The diburim built kalim. Biezrat HaShem. We only touched on the first few words. It's poor nice after an hour. Of course, we were nothing. Like the Rebbe said, "Tachas yediyah." It's to know we know nothing. And only in 1 hour we touched on one word, Nesiyah, and a little bit with the Melchama. We'll continue Biezrat HaShem next week with the Melchama. We went second with the Melchama and all that. Biezrat HaShem should be zoich to go to the field. And we should be zoich to understand the falling is okay. Machzik ma'amad. Hashem loves us. We should love Him as much as we can. If we fall and we get upset at Him, it's okay. You fell, you pick yourself up. Because the fallings are non-stop. Biezrat HaShem, we should be zoiche through this, each falling, we should be zoiche to bring another yid closer, we should be zoiche to be as good, Mashiach, on top of Sadir, Biezrat HaShem. And we should be zoiche to get closer to Eibishter in the right way very soon, starting today for the field, Biezrat HaShem.